Welcome, friends, to another captivating episode of Exceptional Stories and the People Who Live Them. I'm your host, Steve Dover, and today's episode is nothing short of extraordinary. We have the privilege of welcoming a remarkable guest whose journey through motherhood is a testament to the power of love, resilience, and unwavering hope. Our guest today is Elizabeth Creed. She is a mother whose story I know will touch your heart and inspire you. Elizabeth's 14-year-old daughter, Bella, defies the odds every day. Bella's life began with a diagnosis of Down syndrome, a revelation that initially left Elizabeth in the depths of uncertainty. But it was in those moments of doubt that she found her strength and her purpose. Elizabeth's path to motherhood was marked by 11 years of determination and countless fertility treatments. The journey was long and arduous, but it was a journey she refused to abandon. And then, during the summer after the loss of her mother, Elizabeth received the incredible news that she was pregnant. It was a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. But this hope was soon met with the unexpected diagnosis of Down syndrome for her unborn child, Bella. The news took the wind out of Elizabeth's sails, but a heartfelt conversation with her father changed the course of their story, igniting a flame of inspiration and courage. Bella's early days were marked by resilience and a strong will to overcome. She spent 6 to 8 weeks in the hospital after her birth, a period filled with challenges that brought the Creed family closer together. But the journey didn't stop there. At just 11 months of age, Bella faced another formidable obstacle, a diagnosis of acute myeloid leukemia. It was a heart-wrenching moment for the Creeds, but Bella's spirit shone through. After only 4 months of grueling chemotherapy, Bella achieved something truly remarkable. She entered remission, a remission that has now lasted for over 13 years. Along the way, Bella received early intervention services until she was 3 years old, setting the stage for her incredible progress. Today, she is a thriving 14-year-old, and her journey is nothing short of exceptional. During our conversation today, Elizabeth will shed light on what she believes to be the greatest misconception regarding individuals with Down syndrome, challenging stereotypes and fostering understanding. So prepare to be inspired as we delve into the incredible story of Elizabeth Creed and her daughter Bella, a story of love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her exceptional child. Well, welcome back to Exceptional Stories and the People Who Live Them. I have a very special guest with me today that I want you to meet. And this is the first time that we have met. We met through a mutual friend, Sherry Brown, who was featured on episode 4, sent me this person's name. I reached out to her. She was more than happy to come on the podcast and share her story with you guys today. So we're excited about that. We're going to be talking about her daughter, Bella, and her journey with Down syndrome. Elizabeth Creed is my guest today. She's a mother of 2 wonderful daughters, and she lives in Wedowee, Alabama. Elizabeth, I'm glad we finally got to get together and do this. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad too. Yeah, that's one living out in the country. You just don't have very good internet.
Yeah,
But
we
yes,
tried this before, and I think you were having some weather down there that night, and the internet was horrible. So I think we'll be able to make it tonight. We'll be able to salvage it tonight. I think so.
okay, sounds good.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about your journey, about Bella's needs and how it impacts your life, and let's just kind of lay some groundwork here, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, as you've already said, I'm Elizabeth Creed, and I do have an older daughter. She's 29, and her dad and I tried for years to have another child, wanted to have another child. It just, we went through fertility and was unsuccessful. And that took about 11 years we tried. And then my mom passed away. Long story short, I found out that following summer that I was expecting Bella. So it was a wonderful surprise, and we were excited. And then we went and found out, I think it was like 5 months, maybe along, 7 months, when we went in for an ultrasound, and they were, measuring the baby like they always do. And
right.
that was doing the ultrasound said that she believed that Bella, had Down syndrome due to the measurements of her neck and her arms and things like that, because generally they have shorter arms and legs, and there's a certain measurement of their neck that's another indicator.
Okay.
So anyway, we were floored, as you can imagine, because that, even though I knew I was 40, about to be 41, I guess I just expecting that. And so anyway, then we went for further tests. It went for another ultrasound. And then that lady said, I don't know what she's talking about. I don't see that. And so that got our, kind of got our hopes up, for lack of a better. And then we went for genetic. Right. And then we went for the genetic testing, where they actually, do the amniotic fluid test to see. And so it was 99.9% that she had it. So of course they do the whole, they offer you options, and do you want to keep the not? And of course we did. I said, well, of course we do. That's not, that's not even an option for us. So,
right.
But anyway, we were still, I don't know, it was like, the wind had been just taken out of your sails, and just, we didn't know what to do. So anyway, I remember going home and calling my father and crying on the phone to him. And he's like, what's the matter? So I said, she has Down syndrome. And he said, so, and I said, Daddy, I don't know what to, ever had that, experienced that personally. And he said, well, that's okay. We'll find out everything we need to know, and you'll love her, take care of her. And that's, that's it. And I said, okay. So that's exactly it. But
father knows best.
That's right. And he was very cut and dried about most things. So, that it was reassuring. But I later found out that he went like that following day to the library and checked out Gene Stallings' book about his that had Down syndrome.
Yeah.
And see, my didn't talk about feelings and things like that. So I know that, it meant a lot to him to have to, to try to find out and be educated about it himself. But all that being said, when we found out she had Down syndrome, they told us, that most people with Down syndrome will often have heart issues, gastrointestinal issues. There's just a lot of things that could go wrong. So we went on and had, while I was still carrying her, they did a heart test on her, and thankfully found out that her heart was fine.
Oh, okay.
And so after we found, we were so very thankful. After we found that out, they told me that, since she didn't have heart issues, that we could deliver in Anniston, because had she had heart issues, their hospital was not equipped for things like that at that time. So we had her there. It was funny. We had just moved into our home. We had just built a new home and stayed there. And I let my other daughter have a spend the night party. And that morning, like in the wee hours of the morning, Bella was ready to come. We it was funny. Went to the hospital anyway, and I was there in labor for about 10 hours. Our whole church family, the waiting room was full. Our pastor, our church family, our family members. It was wonderful support. But when Bella was delivered, she had a lot of fluid built up, and it was difficult for her to breathe. She couldn't breathe well on. So she immediately get to hold her right away. They immediately whisked her off and started working, which was scary again. But so they got her stabilized, and they rushed her from there. I had to tell her bye. Still hadn't held her yet. They rushed her by ambulance to UAB, to the NICU there, where she stayed for 6 weeks. I want to say 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
So I had to stay in the hospital in Anniston another night. My blood pressure was up. And so anyway, the next day I went on to the hospital to UAB, and we stayed in a hotel a couple of nights, but they had her on a breathing machine, and she was in a little incubator, and still hadn't held her. Yeah, so that was tough. But other than, the breathing and the fluid and all, everything else looked somewhat normal, considering. But we wound up, she just could not eat on her own. She had very low muscle tone. Of course, that's another character. So she couldn't drink a bottle. So we had to do therapy with her, where we actually had to put our fingers in her little mouth and, massage those muscles to where she could. So we stayed there 6 to 8 weeks, stayed in the Ronald McDonald House. We were blessed to get a room there.
I've spent many nights there myself. Yeah, and that is a blessing.
It really is. And it was a very scary time. Like I said, I still had a daughter here in school at home, and I was having to stay there with Bella. But she continued to, get stronger and improve, and finally got to where she could eat on her own, drink a bottle on her own. So we got to come home. So and we pretty much immediately, when she was just a few months old, we started receiving early intervention from which they're not UCF, excuse me. They're wonderful. So they came out and worked with her, and until she was 3 years old, basically, they worked with her. They were fabulous. But back, the doctors kept telling us that they were suspicious of Bella's blood tests. She had some blood tests that were coming back that were not normal, and they were suspicious that she had leukemia. So it was the month before she turned 1. It was in December, around Christmas. They told her dad and I that she had acute myeloid leukemia. And so we waited until after the holidays, and we told our family. And in January, we began treatment for acute myeloid leukemia. So she started her chemo, and again, God just works things out. But they told us that people with Down syndrome usually respond better to the chemotherapy for this certain type of leukemia, which I was, again, learned something new.
Yeah, I'd never heard that either.
No, and also people that have Down syndrome are more likely to get leukemia, and I did not know that.
I didn't know that.
You're right. So she did. She responded well. However, she got pretty sick, in between treatments, and we were in and out of the hospital a lot. And but thankfully, we finished those treatments. We started in January. We finished about the end of April, and so thank you, God. She has been leukemia free in remission. Now she's 14 and a half. So going on 13 years or so.
Oh, okay.
But we still, we go back regularly now once a year for, after cancer care. Okay. So they keep checking. And she's had a couple of issues I believe, due to that, but nothing serious. Like her organs all seem to be working properly, so it didn't damage that as of what we know now. Okay. Her bones and things. She does have weak joints, and as earlier, kind of low muscle tone. So she tired, I guess, easier than your typical person.
I do too. I get tired. The older the tighter I get.
But the whole time we were going through that, she was just so resilient and still had that little, even though she was a baby, she just had such a little fighter mentality. She kind of always has. Yeah, she's taught us a lot.
It's amazing how kids, infants, are just born with that fighting gene. They don't understand
really
what's going on. Parents don't understand what's going on, but you definitely can explain it to them so that they understand it. But they just are born. They come out looking for a fight, I think, and a lot of them, a great many of them, survive it just simply because of that. I know my oldest son, when he was born, um, he had been diagnosed with cytomegalovirus. When he was born, he had um, not blisters, but like little blood vessels all over his body, had just like he had pink dots all over his body. And he had respiratory issues when he was born, so we didn't get to hold him immediately either. But after he was born, emergency C-section. But after he was born, the doctor, after they got him stable and everything, they let me go in there and see him while they were finishing up with mom and talking about that fighting aspect of it. I will never forget as long as I live when I reached down and the first time I touched him, he grabbed my finger and just gripped my finger and squeezed my finger, and I knew right then he was going to be a fighter. And sounds like Bella's the same way. She came out ready to go.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, Exceptional Stories family. We've got something very exciting to share. We want to put the spotlight on you. If you're a special needs parent or caregiver, we want to hear your questions for an upcoming Q&A episode. Send in your questions via email to exceptionalstoriespodcast@gmail.com or leave us a 90-second voice message at speakpipe.com/exceptionalstoriespodcast. We're diving deep into the most common pain points faced by special needs parents, and your input will shape this crucial conversation. I can't wait to hear from you. Let's make this Q&A episode truly exceptional.
That gives me goosebumps because Miss Creed, Bella's grandmother, her husband, Mr. Creed, was alive at the time when she was born, and he told Miss Creed that he put his little pinky finger in there, when she was still in the incubator or whatever, and that she grabbed the finger, and so Miss Creed, he died the month after she came home from having her last chemo. But Miss Creed tells Bella that story, has told her that ever since she was little, and finger holding Papa's.
I'll tell you
she
what,
also had,
never forget it.
Yeah, petite eye, like the little like you're talking about the
petite eye. That's what I was trying to. Petite eye rash. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what she had. That was another thing that the doctors were looking at, and of course I had never heard that before. And so that was what was making them suspicious of the leukemia.
Well, get us up to current day with Bella. You said she's 14 and a half now.
Yes.
Is she in school, or does she have accommodations at school? And what are her health challenges right now?
Okay, she is, developmentally delayed, and she's reached all of her milestones, but of course not right on time. But she wasn't very far years. Thankfully, she is. She has some speech issues, but she is, to me, I think she's easy to understand and can communicate very well. And we've always taken her out and socialized her a lot, like she was the baby of our town. They used to around, and so everybody knew her. And so I think that has really helped a lot. But as far as her health, she's in good health overall. Her biggest thing she has struggled with, I guess, for most of her little life has been chronic sinus infections and ear infections, and their anatomy is smaller like their little breathing airways are smaller in their nose,
Right.
smaller in their ears. And so therefore, if she ever were to get the least little cold, it would turn into a full-blown, can't breathe sinus infection.
Yeah.
So due to that, we had surgery to have sinus surgeries or adenoids removed, tonsils removed.
Right.
She's had multiple ear surgeries, which past 2 years, we had surgery done on the mastoid bone behind both ears, because that's where the infection was coming from. They finally decided it wasn't her sinus. It was that. So another learned. So since we've had that done, she has been so much better, so much better.
Yeah.
But like I said, wears hearing aids in both ears due to all the infection. She lost a good bit of her hearing.
Right.
And she's great hearing aids. She loves them. She has kept up with. We have never lost them, thank you, Lord. And she's just, you can imagine being able to hear or not hear.
Yeah.
But she will not wear glasses. Yeah, she's supposed to wear glasses, but she won't wear them because it causes a lot of reverb, whatever they call that, with her hearing aids.
Huh. Okay.
She goes to school. She was in the gen ed room, the general education room, up until middle school, up until 4th grade. And then she was in the gen ed room some, but mostly in what they call the resource room, with all the other children that have, different educational issues, special. Everybody uses a different term. So she was in the resource room. And then COVID hit. So we were at home, and I'm a retired teacher, so I was doing the best I could to teach her here.
You got called up for duty, didn't you?
Yeah, and it went pretty well. Went so well that she could go back to school. She just wanted me to teach her at home. But so she received honors when she graduated 6th grade. She made the honor roll every report card, and so she got junior beta club, and so that was neat. And then she's involved, with Sherry's horse riding program, so she likes to do that. That's been really a blessing. And she plays ball on a league of her own. She has played ball with them a few times. We try to keep her active. She's tried a lot of different things, and but that leads us to now where she's a teenager, and she has started to more that she's different. Whereas used to, she didn't see herself as different. She just joined in with everything. And so now it's kind of hitting home. And so she kind of shrinks to the back a little bit more, which, setting for me, because I know just as, capable. She might not do it as fast or as well, but she can still do. And for the most part, kids they're nice. She has never had anyone, to my knowledge, that has been unkind to her. However, and Sherry and I talk a lot, as far as having like a real, true, genuine connection with a friend, somebody that wants to hang out with her, we don't have any of that. Yeah. We had one child moved off, but so now she's grade and at our high school here, and she does well. She only goes into the gen ed room for PE and one other class, and I can tell she doesn't feel as confident about that, but we're trying. But I don't know. We also have an opportunity that we may be going to school. She may be going to school at the Helen Keller School in Talladega.
Yeah.
Which, So recently through Sherry, she and I toured the school, and I didn't even know that was an option for us. And so now, really excited about that. I just finished all of our paperwork and medical, we have to do, and I'm sending that. and praying that that's going to come into play for her. I think wonderful
I think that'd be great.
opportunity.
It would definitely be great.
Yes. Yes, and they have all the therapy they need there,
Right.
speech and
Yeah.
therapy, and all the extracurricular things, and
Yeah.
then were to want to go there, she can go when she's 19 and stay in like a dorm situation
Right.
where they
Yeah.
live and they learn life skills,
Mhm.
which is my hope for her is to
Yeah.
one day have a job, maybe live not on her own probably, but maybe in a group type setting.
I got you. Okay. Well, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, I've got one specific question I want to ask you in the few minutes that we've got left. But everybody, hang around. We'll be right back with more exceptional stories and the people who live them.
Hey everyone, I want to take just a moment to express my deep appreciation for your continued support and engagement with the Exceptional Stories podcast. Your feedback means the world to us. If you've been enjoying our show, can I ask for your help in leaving us a 5-star rating on the podcast platform you use to listen to the show? It would truly make a difference for us if you would do that. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast journey.
Welcome back to Exceptional Stories and the people who live them. Got just a few minutes left here with Elizabeth Creed. She's been giving us the story of her journey with Bella and Down syndrome, and it doesn't sound like it sounds like Bella's winning that battle. I'll just say that. But I've got one last question for you. We've got just a few minutes remaining here, and I try to ask this question to all of my parents just to get the personal, get a little personal aspect put into this. And that question is this: what do you think the biggest misconception is about a child with Down syndrome?
That's a really good question. And from my perspective, I believe one of the biggest misconceptions about people that have Down syndrome is that they're all the same and that they're happy all of the time. I've heard a lot of people say that, well, usually they'll say Downs kids, which I don't like that, but I know sometimes people don't know any better, but it's
They don't, yeah.
people that have, but they say they're just so happy and jolly all the time, and they're not. And they have all the different emotions that we have.
Yeah.
It's just that, yes, they do. Well, my child in particular, not all of them, but Bella in particular, she has all the emotions. We just had a little thing, teenage girl, but she is much more resilient. She is much more able to bounce back after a setback. And I could just tear up just saying that because she has dealt with a lot in her short years here.
Yeah.
A lot of adversity and some painful situations. And to be able to get up every day and just laugh and smile and, dance around and play. And it just taught me so much about not staying down,
Yeah.
And now, as I said, I believe, and I stood up and said this at my church one time because I want people to know that, just because someone might have a certain diagnosis does not mean everybody with that diagnosis is the same. And they have feelings too. And I think a lot of people think that they don't, that they don't understand. And they do. Bella is quick to pick up on when she thinks someone doesn't like her or does like her. So she has a really good intuition about things like that. But back to your question, I would say that would be the most, in my opinion, the most common misconception in that they cannot learn, and they can. It's just in their own time.
Yeah. And I found we're the parents of two special needs sons, and we have a special needs grandson. And people, bless their heart, they feel like they've got to say something, but they don't know what to say. And
Yes.
initially, it got under our skin, and we probably didn't handle it very Christ-like or very well. But over the years, we've kind of matured a little bit with that too, and now it's actually kind of humorous to think back of some of the things that people said, thinking they were helping us,
Right.
and they didn't have a clue.
No,
They couldn't have lasted an hour in our shoes or in yours either.
you're
But
right.
yeah, that is awesome that she is just carrying on that fighting spirit, not only early in her life, but now,
Yeah,
when people are mean or treat her different or whatever, she's got a good support network, I can tell too, that will help pick her up and deal with that.
we've been very blessed with family and friends that have really, really been there for us and been a wonderful support system.
Yeah.
And I feel for don't have that. And I know you just have a minute, but Sherry and I have spoken just here recently about wanting to start like a parent support group, because
Yeah.
especially being, in a rural area, there's just not much offered for children and or parents, as far as like resources and just
Yeah.
being there for one, just to listen and you know, be sympathetic and empathetic and all those things.
I got
So
you. I
I'm
got you.
praying it happen. Maybe y'all can join us.
Well, yeah, if y'all get that going, for sure, either you or Sherry get me the information on that. We'd love to help promote it to the folks that listen to the podcast. And um,
That'd be wonderful.
one thing we found out that our oldest son was diagnosed with autism, Asperger's, but our youngest son,
Mm-hmm.
he had a very rare genetic disorder, and he passed away at 13. But
Oh,
a lot of things we found out during both of those, that it helps to have a community. It helps to have a support network. Now our youngest son that had the genetic disorder, there were less than 100 kids in the entire United States that had that particular disorder. It doesn't even have a clinical name, but
wow.
every time that he had to go to the hospital, and he had multiple hospital stays, especially later in his life, right before he passed. But every time we would go to the hospital, it wouldn't take us too long before we found somebody, one, that had it worse off than we did. Uh,
Yes.
there were a lot of times that we sat in that NICU waiting room and that PICU waiting room, and we saw the nurse come out and get families and take them to the quiet room. And of course, everybody knows what that means. But
Yes.
we were blessed to not have to experience that. But we saw so many people, and when you're doing a hospital stay of 2 to 3 weeks, you get to know people that you're around,
Yeah.
and we were able to be put in the paths of people that I think we helped, but yet we were put in the path of people that helped us too. And there's just something about that
Yes.
community, and that you may have different diagnosis and a totally different journey, but we're all technically on the same road. We all have challenges, and we all have troubles, ups and downs, that we have to put up with. And I wouldn't take anything for community. We've still got friends that we met during that time that are still friends today. And it's
That's wonderful.
only because we had the hospital stay, or we were going through a tough time and somebody found out about it, that type of thing. So, yeah, if y'all get that going, definitely let me know, and we will promote the cover off of that thing. We'll make sure everybody knows about it. Definitely. Uh, I think we've got just a minute or two here left. I kind of misread the timer just a minute ago, so I think we've got an extra couple of minutes. Um, and you kind of touched on it then, but what's been the most fulfilling thing about raising Bella so far?
Oh goodness. There's so many things.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I think the most fulfilling is, like I said, she just has this uh, huge heart and just loves everyone. I mean, like I said earlier, though, she'll let you know real quick, though, if she's not happy with something. But for the most part, she is the most loving and accepting individual. And we're in church, and she gets up and she'll pray in front of the whole church. She wants to sing. And I think that it just blesses me and so many other people. And she goes up and prays with people. And that right there, just, I don't know, she's just been a blessing in so many ways. She's taught me how to love better, for sure, and to not have such high expectations out of everyone, like to learn. Everybody learns on their own, in their own time, in their own way. And I'm ashamed to say, even though I was a teacher, I was very hard on my oldest daughter, because you know how you are. You want them to do the very best. And,
Yeah.
I think that was God showing me, like, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is to love everybody and to love them where they are and how they are. And she's just taught me so many lessons, so many lessons. You were talking earlier about community and how important it is. And it is. It definitely is. There have been times, I'm not going to lie, that I told myself it would just be easier for us just to stay at home, like to not in those situations where it's hurtful. The people stare, or they, or they ignore her. And I have to remind myself, it's just out of ignorance. Like you said, they think they have no idea what they're saying and how it's sounding. And it's just not knowing. They're uneducated and about that particular subject. And peace with that. Like, most people don't mean harm. They just don't know. They've never walked in the.
You can tell I think you can tell the ones that do mean harm versus the ones that, instead of having awkward silence, they just say the first thing that pops in their head, or something they've heard somebody else say, or something they saw on TV. And, there's a definite difference, because I've had to deal with both of them.
Yes. And I've had to pray a lot, Lord, keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. Keep your arm on my shoulder and your hand over my mouth, right? Well, I appreciate so much you coming on here. I'm glad we were finally able to get this put together, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing Bella's story. What an amazing story. And we may have to get Gemma and Bella on here sometime and just see what kind of trouble we can get into.
That would be a hoot. Definitely a hoot.
I'll tell you what, I would be odd man out. I promise you that. I would just point to them and tell them when to go, and then I'd step back and let it happen. I would definitely get in the way.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it very much.
It's such an honor to have you on here, and look forward to your story, your exceptional story, helping somebody else.
Yes.
Because we don't know who listens to this. There may be somebody like yourself or myself that has traveled this road for years and years and years, and we've kind of got settled. We know where we're going. We know what to expect and all that. But there's probably some new parents out there, or some soon to be parents out there, that just got that diagnosis, that just got their world turned completely upside down. And they don't know where to turn. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know where to get resources. So that's the goal of this podcast, is to, one, tell stories, but two, provide a way for people that are in those positions to be able to reach out. And that's what I want to do with it. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and telling us about Bella. I look forward to meeting her one day. And
I look forward to that too. Hopefully
we'll have a big time for sure.
Pull up those.
Yeah, I'll go with the flow. I'll do whatever I need to do.
Okay.
But thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you again. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, Mama. Hey, girl.
Hey, before we go, I want to thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. If you're the parent of a special needs child and wish to share your story with us, or you know someone we should talk with on the show, send an email to exceptionalstoriespodcast@gmail.com. I also want to invite you to follow us on our social media pages. You can find us on both Facebook and Instagram at Exceptional Stories Podcast. And lastly, if you found this podcast informative and you would like to keep it going, I encourage you to go to our website at www.exceptionalstoriespodcast.com and click on the support button on our homepage. Join us next week as we share another exceptional story.